All right. As promised, we're gonna do a Spades tutorial today. For the culture. I'm just gonna play this 42 Doug Young and Turnt. The super version, whatever you call it, the re-release in the background. But yeah. So I'm gonna teach as I said I would yesterday. All right. First lesson in playing spades is you got to know what you're playing. Like that's key. I mean, a lot of spades is probably real similar to like hearts or gin rummy, I guess. I don't know. I mean, they're turn-based games. You play with 4 people, 52 cards. The difference is when I say know what you're playing is you want to know the rules ahead of time. You don't want to get mid-game and somebody hit you with something, you just get blindsided like, whoa, I didn't know anything about that. All right, so your hierarchy of cards is like regular hierarchy. Like ace is the top, king, queen, jack, and falls down as such. But I say know what you're playing because in the game of spades, some people play with different rules. For example, you may hear joker, joker, deuce, deuce, ace. That's a common way to play. When they say joker, joker, deuce, deuce, they mean that the highest card would be the big joker. I have 2 jokers. My black joker is a big joker because it's Juneteenth. Yes, no excuses. And then there's a small joker, the other joker, the colorful one. But so your big joker is the trump card. Nothing trumps the big joker. It's a guaranteed book every single time. All right. After that, deuce, deuce. So that means you're going to fall down. Your deuce of spades. That's the next card in your set coming down. And then the next deuce, a lot of people play deuce of diamonds, deuce of hearts. I'd rather make the deuce of diamonds that like 4th highest tiered card. So you got deuce of diamonds. So it's joker, joker, deuce, deuce, ace, king, queen, as such, going down, like dropping in your hierarchy. So that's how you know like the hierarchy of your cards. In the game of spades, a spade trumps any suit. When I say a spade trumps any suit, you have to play on suit. Whatever card that leads, you continue that. If you don't have any cards of that suit, you can play off. For example, well, before I get into that lesson, I should at least talk about the scoring. That's probably a much better idea. So in terms of scoring with spades, the first hand usually bids itself. You'll play to, a lot of people play to 350, some people play to 500, some play to 250, some play a certain number of hands, best of 3, however you want to do it. That's just kind of how you play. But you set your limit to what you play to. First hand bids itself. There's 4 players. That means each person will get 13 cards. And when I say that, that's, you got to remove 2 cards from the deck if you add the 2 jokers. So let me go ahead and cut this 2 of clubs, which is trash. And this 2 of hearts, which is also disappointingly trash when I get to it. Yeah. So I went ahead and cut my 2 cards from the deck because I added 2 jokers. So that way I still have 52. So everybody has 13. It's even. We can keep it that way. There's no talking across the table. What that means is you can't talk to your partner to kind of lead them as I think I might have this or I might have that. You can't do that. You can't talk about it. That doesn't work in spades. You can't talk across the table. That's fact. People are going to get you for that. But when you bet books, that's you and your partner are going to come together and guess how many you have. For example, in my hand of 13, if I think that there's 3 books that I could win, I'd say, I'll go 3 books. If there's an additional book that I think I may be able to win possibly, then that's the 4th book. So what I'm going to do, I might say 3 and impossible. But me and my partner will kind of come to terms with how many books that we think that we could win. And then we'll write that down. And once it's in writing, you can't change it once it's in writing. Once it's written down, you appoint a scorekeeper. Once that's in writing, you cannot change that. That's written down. That's fact. All right, so you'll have your 4 people. You'll bid, and your opponents, whoever you're playing, will bid. Hopefully, the number of books bid for both teams adds up to 13. Why? Because there's 13 cards, and you want to have 13 books. If that number does not, if that number is higher than 13, then that means that somebody will definitely get set. And what getting set means is that you do not get as many books as you bid. So if you think you're going to get a certain number and you don't get that number, then you'll lose that points. For example, every book you win, you get 10 points. So if I bid 5 books, if my team bids 5 books, we get 5 books, then we'll get 50 points. If my team bids and says that we could get 5 books and we get 7 books, then we'll get 52 points. Every book over what you get 1 point for each of those books. But this is where sandbags come into play. A lot of people don't like playing with sandbags because they don't know how to bid, or they're playing somebody new who they don't know how to bid, and just kind of throws the game off and makes it last longer. A sandbag is a point penalty. Once you hit a certain number of sandbag points, whether it be 5, 7, 10, whatever y'all set before the game, again, know what you're playing. So then you'll lose X amount of points, however many you set the sandbag to be, once a team hits that number of books. So we've covered the bidding system, the scoring. First hand bids itself. You know your opponent will bid. That first hand, you kind of get a feel for the game. See how your teammate plays, see how your opponents play. Kind of get an idea of what you want to do, your game plan going forward. Outside of that, as I said, first hand bids itself. You kind of got your teams. I mean, it's always important to kind of know your partner, know how your partner plays. Your partner will know how you play. Like that's always major. Why? Because that's your teammate. Like y'all gotta take it. If y'all want to stay on the table, like y'all need to find a way to stay on the table. So this is where I'll get back into, like, I guess cutting, for example, in bids. So in the sense of when I say cutting, I refer to cutting. Cutting means that if a suit has been played, I'm just gonna go random off the top so I can see it's easier. All right, this is. Let's find another one. All right, so let's say a jack. If this jack of diamonds, someone leads with a jack of diamonds, that means that the suit is a diamond. So every player after that person would have to play on, and they will play on the suit of diamonds. You could try to win if you have a higher diamond than what's out there. Then go ahead and throw it out and try and win. But you're game planning to make sure that you and your partner get the same number of books that you assume that you would get. When I speak of cutting. Cutting is you take the whatever suit that is in play, and if you do not have a card of that suit, then you could cut that suit with spades. That's a game that we're playing. Spades trump everything. If I have no diamonds and I feel like I can win this book, then I can throw my spade on top of that to cut with my spade. So now I've cut the suit. Why? Because this spade will trump that diamond. This does not mean that further players can now play off of my spade. They have to continue playing off of that diamond. So if they only have diamonds left, then they have to keep playing their diamonds. If they have no diamonds and they want to play a higher spade than me, go for it. Play a higher spade. That's just a common option. But, I mean, again, it's a four-person game. Each of you, we're going to have 13 cards. And you kind of know how you're playing. Some people like to play what's called a kitty or a kicker. That's just someone who kind of flip over one card as they're shuffling and deal it out. So you kind of have an idea of where certain cards are at. Could be a really powerful card, could be a really weak card. You never know. But yeah, ideology, like you just definitely want to make sure that you and your team can get to the number of books that y'all assume that y'all could get to. And that's honestly the biggest part of how Spades works. It's really just kind of like a turn-based game. Imply like you depend heavily on your teammate. It's not a very complicated game. You watch people play, it gets kind of fast because people know what they're doing. They'll kind of guess. You might see people throw books in at the end of the game just because they kind of already know where the rest of them are going to go, where they both have books made. And so there's another issue that some people will play with, and the statement is actually books made. So if you and your team bids, and then the team you're playing against, they also bid, but there's 2 books that are still floating, 2 books that are missing out there, then you're gonna worry about books that are made. Why? Because that's under the total number of books. There's 13 total books. There's no way that between all of us playing, we think we can only get 11, because that's impossible. There's 2 more books that still exist. We have to get those books. So I mean that's really the point. Like you want to make sure that you bid it accurately. It's guessing what you're capable of doing. Know your limitations. Much like everything else. This spades, most things in life, know your limitations. Know your limits. And as I say, as I play with my Hennessy bars, but that's just me. They're slick, they're fresh. I like them. But that's really the biggest thing, man. I mean that's kind of how Spades works. Verbatim. One person shuffles. Person to the right cuts, person to the left leads. That's just kind of how things go. If you're shuffling, then that you're going to go last. You can kind of bid your hand that way. There's certain things that might, oh shit, Jay Rowdy in the building. Rowdy Rousey. Oh, I'm back. I lost Josh. Dang, lost Roddy Rossi. Sorry, I had to take a phone call real quick. It was kind of important. But we are back. Um, I don't really know. That's kind of it. Spades is kind of boring. Well, not boring. I guess it's fun, but like I've covered all the basics really. I mean, there's not a lot of kind of special situations I can get into. It's not like an advanced class. This is a beginners. This is intro to spades. Know your limits. Trust your teammates, and kind of play off of trends that you've been seeing. Try to bid accurately. Play with sandbags if you think you're playing people that don't know what's going on. Um, Also, oh yeah, that's another thing. Knowing what you're playing. We talked about kitties. We talked about kickers. We talked about bidding. Knowing what you're playing. Another rule, and this one kind of commonly comes up. A lot of people just kind of inadvertently play. If I don't have any spades in my hand, I can throw it in. And what that means is if in the 13 cards I'm dealt, if I don't get a single spade, I can just throw my hand in. It doesn't matter. Like I can just toss the whole hand away. We reshuffle, and everybody gets different cards dealt out to them. That's a possibility. But if you address it at the beginning and say, hey, like, you got to make that known. Otherwise, mid-game, somebody calls it, it's done for. If you address it at the beginning, say, hey, like, if you get no spades, you keep it, you playing it through, because there are sometimes you can still win games. You can still win hands with no spades. It's difficult, but it's still feasible. But just make sure that you're aware of that from the jump. Like always call out how you're playing, know what the rules are. Like you always want to know the rules of any game when you're playing. Like, you don't want to get blindsided by anything. Speaking of blind, a lot of people, if you're down by 100 points, you can go blind, which means before you even look at your cards, you can bid a certain number of books. And if you meet that number of books, then, you get double your score for those books. So if I'm down 100 and my team and I think, before we see the cards, like, oh, we're going to go blind 7, we're assuming we're going to get 7 books. If we win, we'll get 140 points. If we lose, we'll still just lose 70 points. Like it's real straightforward. I mean, Spades is a very, very, very straightforward, simple game. Like it's played as it's played. That's the biggest thing to describe it. So I don't have anyone else here playing with me, and I'm not gonna like film from 4 different angles to show you 4 different hands. But we can kind of get into some roulette here, some guessing games in terms of like knowing your books. So I'll just deal out 4 hands and then let kind of like practice bid, kind of theory craft what we think we're capable of with these 4 hands. So I mean, again, I'll just hit 4 piles. And as a little background for me, I learned how to play spades with like my aunt and my cousin used to always play spades at the kitchen table on holidays. I would never get to play just because, like, I never played. They're not gonna, trust me on the table. So I would just watch. You watch and learn, watch and learn, watch and learn. I always love card games. They're fun to me. They're easy to me. Just kind of do that. But I mean, that's really it. Like, you just kind of watch and learn. It's the best way to like learn how to play games, to keep watching. If you watch enough of it, you'll get good. That, works the same. You listen to how the greats in each sport talk about how they became the greatest. They watched the greats, they studied the greats, and mimicked their movement. That's how they figured it out. All right, so I don't have any viewers. It's gonna be hard, so I'm still gonna like pretend to ask questions like more people are watching than are actually watching. As someone would joke, with no one in my live, I might as well take this to FaceTime, but I can't FaceTime myself. So all right. Common practice in spades, you'll see people doing a lot of times when they're kind of shuffling their hands. People like to organize their cards to know like what they're capable of, what they have in their hand. Like, what am I capable of doing? All right, so I put my bigger cards in one direction. I might put my spades on the left. Switch them up, might put my spades on the right, might put them in the middle. However it is, I just sort my hand out so that I can see it, so I know that what I have, to make sure I don't renege. Now, renege, oh, that's the term I didn't get into. Reneging is when you play off suit when you had a card of that suit. So you essentially make it available, aware to the game, like, hey, I don't have any cards of this suit, so I'm playing something different. But if someone else later in the game finds out that you did have cards of that suit and they point it out, then they just take 3 books off rip. So you're probably not going to win. And then they know you're a liar, so people are looking for it then. So that's like, it's a double whammy. But I kind of fan this hand for y'all. So it's backwards. So that might be harder for y'all to get. But if y'all are looking at what I'm looking at, I see 3 spades in this hand. I see 3 diamonds. I see no hearts, and then I see 7 clubs. Actually, I'm stupid because that's not 7 clubs, that's 6 clubs. That queen was actually a spade. So back at it, I'm at 4 spades, I'm at 3 diamonds, and I am at 6 clubs. Now, in terms of me having 6 clubs, and this is where counting becomes your friend. If you're good at quick minute math and small numbers, then you will flourish at this game. Why? Because if I have 6 clubs in my hand, then I know that only 7 other clubs exist. And since we removed that 2 of clubs for a joker before we even started, I know that only 6 other clubs exist. So I know that half of the clubs in this game right now are in my hand. I know that there's only 1 club bigger than this king that I have in my hand, and that's the ace. So I know that that king probably wouldn't be guaranteed because there's no way of telling where that ace is going to come from or where it's going to fall. And I would also feel really shaky about any of my other clubs because though this jack is a face card and it's kind of high, there's a chance that it could walk. And in terms of spades, a card that walks is it's a card that's a face card of a lower stature, but you wouldn't necessarily expect it to win the hand, but it happens to win a hand, either by someone misplaying or trying to throw someone else off, or your partner just playing smart and playing around what you have. So there's a chance that jack could walk, but it's slim to none if I have half the spades in my hand. Because there's 6 in my hand, there's 3 other players, and that means that each of them probably on average only has 2 other clubs. So I'm looking at, I could do clubs might make it 2 rounds, and then that would be about it. The other clubs, there's a high chance they would just be dead. So those clubs just become throwaway cards. So if my opponent's definitely going to win the hand, I'll throw out one of these, useless clubs. This isn't going to do anything. If I want my opponent to win a hand and I know other people may have clubs, I'll throw something out that I know my opponent's probably going to cut. That's smart. That's the way to play your card. You can't talk to your opponent, but this is stuff that you all should just know. Like, y'all just got to be thinking, playing off one another. So in terms of bidding for my clubs, I would think, I might have a possible club. So I'd say I got 1 possible there. Next, I look at my diamonds. I don't have any. I have 1 diamond. This ace of diamonds, to me, that's a book. Like it's early. I got 3 of them. That means that there's 10 more on the table. Well, I'll take that back. There's 9 more on the table because 1 of those is a spade. And I'm just, I'm guaranteed. I'm like, yo, this ace of diamonds is definitely gonna make the cut. I'm calling this bad boy a book. These other 2, useless. But I mean, I got 3s. So that's relatively balanced. I'll take that. So I consider that I have 1 in a possible books right now. Moving on to my spades. Now I have 4 spades. This deuce, this ace, this queen, and this 9. This deuce is nice because this is the 3rd highest card in the game. Like, it's the 3rd most powerful card in the game that I'm playing. This ace is the 5th. This queen happens to be the 7th. The 9, a little bit further on down the line, it's the 10th strongest card in the game, so I wouldn't, fringe as strongly off of that one. But having 4 spades, I think it's pretty balanced. There's only 14 in the game. That means that there are 10 more spades that are floating out there. So on average, each other person might have 3 to 4 more spades. So that's relatively balanced. So in terms of my bidding, I knew that one diamond, this ace of diamonds, I'm definitely counting that as a book. I'm calling it off risk. All right. My king of clubs, maybe it's a possible. My jack of clubs, though it's a face card, seeing how many clubs I have, I'm not even looking at it. I'm not thinking about it. But what am I missing? Hearts. I have no cards in the suit of hearts. So that means every time a heart is thrown out, I could cut it or I could throw off. If my opponent's leading with hearts and I know they're going to win, I'll throw some trash out. If my opponent is worried, throws a weak heart because they make the read that I don't have any, I'm throwing out something big. So in terms of me bidding, I'm going to account for me not having any hearts in my hand. So thinking about it, on average, there are how many hearts left? We took 1 heart out. So, I mean, there's 12 hearts left. There's 12 hearts still out there on the table. Okay. So I think 12 hearts on the table. That's a pretty good number of hearts. So what do I want to do with that? If there's 12 hearts out there, that means on average, if I don't have any, that means everybody else has 4. Most likely, there's split up between the other 3 people. There's 4 hearts each probably. I don't have any, so every time hearts would come up, that would be a book. So I'd assume that each of them has close to 4. So honestly, if I wanted to be greedy, I could count every spade that I have as a book for heart since I don't have any, because I know I'm going to cut regardless of when the heart is played. So in terms of my bid, I would count that as 1 definite. My king is a strong possible. And I would honestly count all 4 of my spades as books. I mean, the 2, the deuce, the ace, the queen are all really strong. The 9, not really, but I have no heart. So I'm pretty sure that whatever a heart throws out, I could win with 1. So what I'd count this hand as, I count this as 5 and a possible, because I have, 4 spades, this ace of diamonds, and 1 king of clubs. But that's just me. Everybody plays differently. People like to bid different. Everybody thinks how they want to think in terms of spades. But that's just how I would have bid that 1 hand. And these are all just sets of 13 cards. I just split the deck up. We kind of talk about bidding in your hands and things like that to kind of understand how the order goes. So that's 1 group. All right. Look at my next hand. So the next hand, I'll kind of spread this one out to look at it to see. I mean, this is kind of realistic because I would never know who has these hands. I'd just be looking at them in front of me. So I was like, this is cool, This is where the math part comes in for fun. All right. Looking at this hand, I have 3 diamonds, a king, a queen, and a 4. That's cool. It's good when I have back-to-back high suit cards because I know that I have the 2nd highest diamond in the game and also the 3rd highest diamond in the game. So remember before when we had the other king of clubs, and then we're like, oh, it's a possible. I don't know where the top card is. I don't know the neck one. This is harder to kind of play off of. But since I have the number 2 and the number 3 card, I know that regardless if I throw this high card and then, whatever higher than it trumps it, then all right, cool. I know when I throw this next one, there's not another diamond that's higher than that because the 2 highest ones have already been out. So I'm going to count, these 2. I'm going to count that as just 1 guaranteed book because I have the 2nd and 3rd. I already know the options. This 4 diamonds, obviously I'm not counting that for nothing. Looking onto my clubs, 3 and a 4, that's trash. I can't do anything with that. There are 2 clubs. I can't play all suit with that. That's relatively balanced. I guess useless, done for. Hearts, really balanced. I have 4 hearts in my hand, just like we kind of guessed before. Looking at the other hand, none of these hearts are strong. They're all trash. This hand is looking to be pretty weak because I just have 1 possible book right now. Looking at my spades, though, I get intrigued. Well, I got the big joker. That's a guarantee. So I have 2 guarantees. I have that king of diamonds or queen of diamonds, whichever one it walks through. And also have the big joker, which is obviously the strongest, most powerful card in the game of spades. Outside of that, I have a king of spades, a 10, and a 7. Looking at the rest of my hand, I would definitely count that king. It seems like a kind of safe bet, given I do have weaker cards, but that king of spades is what, like the sixth strongest card in the game. So there's a good chance that it could be kind of useful. So I've counted something because I do have two other spades kind of throw it if I need to throw spades, as long as someone doesn't like debo them out of my hand. But I'd count this king as one. It seems like a safe bet. So again, I would call this hand two. I'd call it three. I'd call this hand three books, just like looking at it. And that's I'm gonna fan it back for y'all. Again, I would consider this hand to be three books. I got my big joker. I got that king, which, though I have four spades, that's pretty balanced. The rest of my hand is relatively like not strong. It's still a good chance it could walk through something. I have that king and that queen, so one of them is going to win. So I would count that as three books. One of them is most likely to win. A lot of this is kind of like theory crafting, what you do, what your hand is capable of. Obviously, it's never a guarantee, but it's really safe to play numbers, because when you run the numbers, kind of calculate and assume stuff, then like you'll get a pretty good fix on what you're doing. All right, next hand. Let's see how much heat is in here. Look kind of strong. All right. In terms of diamonds, I got two, a jack and a seven. Useless. I'm not counting either of these as anything. I feel like complete waste of my diamonds. Nothing. Clubs. Okay, I got two clubs again. All right. So there's an ace of clubs. That's good. I'm counting that as one book. Why it's ace of clubs? It's the cards can get played early. Most likely won't get cut. Seems like a safe book. So thus far, I have one. Looking at my hearts, I have four hearts. Oh, excuse me. I have the ace and I have the king. I have both of these, and I only have four hearts in my hand. So I have four hearts in my hand. That's great. I know that there's 12 left on the table. So that means there's 8 split amongst everybody else. So there's a good chance that hearts can make it through for 2 rounds without being cut. That's a safe bet. So for me, I would safely assume that this ace to be won and this king to be won, because that feels like a really safe bet to me right now. So I look at that as about 2 books from the hearts. So we're up to 3, the ace of hearts, the king of hearts, and the ace of clubs. In terms of my spades, now I do have more spades in this hand. I have 5 spades in this hand. I got this deuce of diamonds, which we're playing joker, joker, deuce, deuce. So this is the 4th strongest card in the game. That's pretty powerful. Like, I see this deuce, I'm like, I'm definitely going to think of that as a spade. Looking at this jack. This jack of spades is not super strong. I mean, it might be something. It's a face card, but because we've added so many other spades to the hierarchy, we've added the 2 jokers, we've added the 2 deuces, we kind of pushed that jack down in terms. So now I wouldn't look at it as much of a jack. I'll push it down 4 places. I'm looking at it more of like a 7, maybe. Like it just seems significantly weaker to me. It's just closer to how it feels. As I kind of push it down that way. 7, 8, maybe. I don't know. But you have one other. I only have 2 diamonds, so would I count a spade as one of these books if it was a stronger spade? Maybe that jack might walk through one. The same with the clubs. I only have 2 other clubs, so maybe a spade might walk through one of those. Have 4 hearts, not looking about any of those. So I'm definitely counting my deuce of diamonds as a big deuce. It counts as a spade in this game, so that's another book I consider. And then, given I only have 2 diamonds and 2 clubs, I'd probably count this jack in as well. So that is what, 2, 3. That's 5. So I'd assume that this hand would have 5 books. All right. So if we've been keeping score, this hand went 5. The last hand thought that they would have had, what was this? 1, 2, 3, 5, and 3 is 8. This hand, I would have bid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did I say 5? Yeah, I think 5. All right, so we're getting kind of close on books here, because I think one has 5, another has 3, and another has 5. So I mean, in theory, that this next hand might not have any books, if that. I mean, there's a good feeling that like I know the little joker's in here for one, so that's a chance to get a book. But a lot of times, even if you have a really strong card, like another card can kind of trump it. Like that little joker, a lot of people wait to play. Having that little joker, you could definitely throw it out early to get a lot of hand disruption going. Because the only thing that jumps is the big joker. So if we find a way to use it to cut something, unless someone behind you has that big joker to jump it, you know, a lot of people don't want to go up and reach that high for it. So we'll kind of look at this hand and see what we got. But I can already tell this hand's kind of trash. Yes. Thank you. I'm glad this hand is shit because this kind of further proves what I was talking about. So again, we have 4 hearts here too. So our heart theory played out, not having hearts in that first hand. Everybody else did have 4 hearts. You know, these Queen, Jack, 10, 8. You know, the next 2 highest ones, I just never feel that strongly about them. There's just something that just gets me about that. I mean, there's a chance you might call it a possible. That's a kind of weak possible, but